people have been asking me to talk about this RetroBlox retro console. It's a modular setup. I wanted to wait until I saw it in person, and I did so at the SoCal Retro Gaming Expo, which was fun. It was a success. Frank was there. I helped MC the auction on Saturday night. I also bid on a few items. I didn't win any, unfortunately. I should have been more on one, and one I dropped out because me and this guy were neck and neck, and we both were just be wasting each other's money. So once we realized that, I stopped. But that aside, RetroBlox. People have been talking about this. I saw it firsthand at SoCal Retro Gaming Expo. They had a prototype sort of mold there, but not the prototype, actual, I guess, console put together. I'm sure they're working on it, working hard, but they're going to launch a Kickstarter soon. So what is RetroBlox? It sounds like a throwback Lego, but it's not. It's a modular retro system that in theory is going to let you play Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PS1 games, and a few others. Kickstarter is going to be in April. That's the plan. So how is this going to work? So you're going to have a base system they're going to plan to sell you. So the base system is going to be a disc base, CD-ROM. So you're going to be able to play on that disc. You're going to be able to play PS1 games, TurboGrafx / PC Engine CD games, and Sega CD / Mega Drive CD games, or those few 32X CD games, which are really Sega CD games, but you added in the 32X for more memory. I think, they had I have Scottie Pippen Shut Up and Jam or whatever, or Jam City, and then I have for example, Zombie Killers, a 32X Sega CD game, and then they had Night Trap, for example, where you got a bigger resolution, barely, but you got it. So that's what they have planned. And then they're going to have what they're going to call these element modules that you can buy separately to snap into the base to play. Let's see, they're going to have a Nintendo one, or NES, Super Nintendo. They're planning Sega Genesis as well right now. And then others are going to try to get out there as well. It's an interesting approach. And unfortunately, I don't like talking about these things for the Kickstarter, for projects like this, because a lot of it hinges on the full array of offerings and what the price is going to be, to see if these are going to be doable or a success or not. But I'll just try to go by the information we have now. According to the person they interviewed, this will not be $300, at least, I guess, for the base unit. It won't be $300. RetroBlox will include one element module and controller. It'll be much less than a base Nintendo Switch. All right, that's good. Additional element modules will vary in cost depending on complexity, both software and hardware, but won't cost any more than a new video game. Okay, so that gives you a hint. So you're looking at these modules then, according to this, you're going to probably be somewhere in that $50 to $60 range for the new modules, according to plan here, besides the base then. And we're not sure what that base is going to be yet, though. If I had a guess, that base probably would be over $100 or around $100. If they wanted to move them, I would do $100. And then hopefully you make your money back on all those bases, even if you're taking a slight loss on the modules. And then even if you're taking a loss on the base itself, those element modules, you'll make it back. But then again, I'm not the one doing this. I don't know what the costs are put in this. I have no idea what the R&D is for this. Nintendo 64, they said there's some legal concerns that stand in the way of that. Nintendo 64 is technically very doable on RetroBlox, but Nintendo filed many, many patents for that system, some as recently as 2001. So once those patents run out, they can move on forward. All these other systems, the patents already gone on them. They don't have to worry about any emulation concerns, things like that. And that brings me to what they want to do with this. Oh, by the way, here's the full list of modules again. So your base CD / DVD drive is going to be PS1, and these are not region locked. PS1, Sega CD / 32X CD, and then PC Engine / Turbo CD, and then Super CD-ROM games, and the arcade CD-ROMs. For example, the arcade CD games are something like Fatal Fury is an example. I have a couple of those where you need to have more memory for those games. And then the element modules that are planned for Kickstarter right now are NES, Super Nintendo / Super Famicom, Super Game Boy will work fine for play only, but you won't be able to back up your games. Then you have Genesis. Then you have 32X. Now you can plug into that, and then you have Master System via power-based converter. Atari 2600, 7800 is currently not confirmed for support, but it might be before the Kickstarter. And then you have TurboGrafx 16. So you have a good chunk of these consoles you want to get out there, which I think is great. One of the glaring ones, though, that is missing here that I think would be great to include would be Sega Saturn. That's a hard one, though, to emulate properly. Notoriously a difficult one to get done properly. So the fact that they have a disc base, though, means in theory you'd be able to edit, hopefully, at some point with firmware. If not a new base, you'd hope you wouldn't have to do a disc base and disc element module and plug it into the base of that. If that's how you want to go. But yeah, hey, if you can add Saturn later, that'd be a slam dunk for me, absolutely. But the fact that this is an opportunity to have a disc replacement in the vein of a Retron 5 to me is pretty important, because I think we're going to head in that direction where, there's millions and millions and millions of PS1 consoles, less Saturns, but we'll get there at some point. Everyone considers N64 to be retro. Everyone considers Dreamcast to be I consider Dreamcast to be retro, and Sega Saturn is definitely retro because it's 20 years old at this point. Some other sort of information about this from the press release and other news. And again, whenever we talk about this stuff, you have to try to keep a level head. We're not even at a Kickstarter stage yet, let alone development of a lot of these modules. And I don't think it's going to be easy to develop some of these modules. That's my perspective, especially since this is not supposed to be quote-unquote straight emulation, but they're going for some hybrid emulation approach. So, patented hybrid emulation technology. And they're sort of keeping that close to the vest, what that means. Which I guess since they're patenting, they have to. But they wanted you to be able to incorporate modern elements into this, in theory, into their OS. So be able to twitch instantly from the OS. You'll be able to share, stuff, pictures and videos of what you're doing. So they want to have the amenities of a modern console, be able to record video as you play it, which again sounds cool in theory because a lot of people are doing that anyway with modern games or even with retro games are doing that. Be able to rate games, connect and share. Share screenshots to Facebook and video to Facebook or Twitter. You can have friends on there. Nothing about, I guess it'll be maybe too complicated at this point, but I would love to see some sort of online playing function. You can do it with emulators. Why not be able to code that in? It probably requires some. You gotta get into there though and do that. But hell, if you can play other people on the Super Nintendo emulators and Nintendo emulators, and this is emulation technology in theory, just using physical media, why not be able to do that? And you are going to be able, I think, to back up games though once you install them. So it's basically taking the Retron 5, where you take the game off, but you're playing this off of the physical media though. I think when you have it, but I think it's going to give you the option to back up your games. That could be cool, especially for disc-based games. You don't have to keep loading them up; they'll load quicker. But yeah, again, wait until the Kickstarter before you rah anything too much. Keep a level head. We've had plenty of Kickstarters and crowdfunded stuff in the past. Systems and games, but definitely systems that have come and gone. For some reason, I can't think of the big one off the top of my head that have been massive failures. And I'm not saying this is going to be a failure. I'm just saying I don't know what this is going to be until it's out. And getting back to the price is very important because the price is sort of I guess, catch-22 with this, because the more people support this on the Kickstarter, the more they can order these modules, and that'll keep the production cost down. It'll shrink. The more you order something, the costs come way down per unit. But unless they have a nice price, people won't order this. So I have to wait and see, and hopefully Ian will be back by then to comment about what he thinks is reasonable or not. But I'm hoping this base is under $100. The modules are going to be, they said that no more than the price of a new game, so we're talking $60. Let's just say $50 or $60. So in theory then, if you want to get all this stuff, if you want to get the base and all the modules, you're looking at something in the range of $250. Maybe could be more depending on what the base is. But in my head, if it's $100, $250 to $300, that's could be reasonable. If this is all, this is all on an HD TV, if they add all the accoutrements of a modern console, if it works right, that could be a reasonable solution. But if it's more than that, I don't know. So let's just see what this is going to be in April. I'm going to come back to that, just because I don't want to rah-rah this too much until we see what's going on. But the good news is that the people working on this aren't people that have no right to work on stuff like this, like people that worked on a certain other past game console that crashed and burned. I mean, that's important to keep in mind. I'm going to read some notes from the press release here. And also on the website, you can see mock-ups of the modules and the base unit, for the most part, looks like something like a docking. Remember like those old like Dell docking stations for like your laptop? You put them on and then you connect a monitor to it, like USB ports. The base kind of looks like that, where the base will have your DVD drive there, and then if you get your modules, you'll just slide it and lock them in there. And then your module, for example, there, like the one I'm looking at, has like, your Super Nintendo / Super Famicom slot, because it's the same, and the 2 controller ports in the front. So that's what your module is gonna consist of. World's first modular and fully modernized retro game console from the press release. Sure, we'll see, but that's the plan, and I like the idea in theory if it works and if it's cost effective. Full 1080p HD resolution. All right. Hybrid emulation. Patent pending. Allows for direct hardware reading of specialized chips and mappers contained within historically difficult to emulate retro game cartridges. All right. That doesn't say it's FPGA, because as we know, FPGA for all these consoles don't really exist. It only exists for like Super Nintendo, and they're hard to develop. So they said, according to their press release, hybrid emulation allows for the highest possible speed while using classic game controllers connected directly to RetroBlox element modules. All right. We'll see what happens here. I'll tell you what I'd be in for. They'd be brilliant if they targeted those expensive consoles. So, like, for example, probably extremely difficult to do, or someone would have done it already. Let's say, for example, they are able to do a Neo Geo module for under $100. Those will sell out. What, are you kidding me? It'll be beyond hotcakes, sort of territory at that point. Hotcake territory? It would be beyond at that point. I'd be interested in that. But we'll see you back here in April. We'll see what the costs are. Yeah, that's all I can say at this point. I'm hoping they can get that Sega Saturn thing worked out. Not even Dreamcast. Let's get Saturn worked out at some point for that base module. I think that would be a good way to go.